What's going on, guys, and welcome back to F1 22 for My Team Career Mode, Season 3, Round number 6, the Monaco Grand Prix. Returning here for the first time since Season 1 and hoping for a bit of a better race than in Season 1. Not necessarily because of our performance, but just generally it was a pretty boring race Season 1, so hoping for more this time around, but it is Monaco, remember, so who knows. Looking at R&D, everything's getting very close in this midfield. Alpine now ahead, once again, a Mercedes, then McLaren and my team. AlphaTauri are starting to close up to us in this midfield pack, so hoping, well, I don't know, kind of hoping that they don't really catch up before we start catching, Red Bull and Ferrari at the top, because we really want to be going for race wins. We still haven't got a race win in this career mode yet. We're almost halfway through Season 3 and haven't had a race win. We've only had 2 podiums ourselves. Our teammate has had a podium as well, so 3 podiums for the team so far, but yeah, still not got that elusive race win yet, so really hoping that's going to come some point soon, because I really want to be fighting for wins and championships at some point in this game. It's definitely taking a lot longer than in previous games. We end up P13 at the end of that, so not great from us. P9 for Norris, so he's just snuck into the top 10. But it's looking a little bit sketchy for us getting into Q3, but we will just about do it. My Q2 lap ended up being much better. Found quite a lot of pace, I think, towards the end of the lap. It was Sector 3 where I really struggled a bit in Q1, so yeah, just found some more time in this second qualifying session. And yeah, I mean, it's just getting back to the groove of Monaco, because I've not really driven the track since the race back in Season 1. It's a track that you really need confidence with, and if you don't have the confidence, you can't push 100%. You either make a mistake and crash, or you just don't get the lap time out of it. I end up P6 after a pretty good time in Q2. Lando only just manages to get into Q3 with P10, but we are both into Q3, so that is definitely good to see. And onto my Q3 lap here, so yeah, just pushing as much as I absolutely can here. I mean, the fact that we're in the top 10 is good, especially at a track like this where overtaking is nigh on impossible. Being in the points to start the race is definitely a plus. I go a little bit too deep into that section there, and then a bit too deep into this whole kind of casino section. I think it's the casino section, isn't it, with the hairpin and everything. A little bit too eager, I think, and a bit wide out of that corner as well as we head into the tunnel. So it's been a little bit of a scrappy first sector, but I can make it up. This third sector, the third sector is where time is really made up as we head to this point right now. It's all confidence through this next part, and we get pretty good through that section. Just ride the curbs through there. Very good through the next section as well. That is actually pretty decent as we head into Rasgas. Around the next corner, we get a big amount of oversteer, and then we're all out of line, and we hit the wall, and we hit the other wall, both sides of the track, as we finish that lap. So that's gonna massively jeopardize us, and it's not gonna put us any higher than P10. So a very scruffy end to that lap there. Pretty scruffy whole lap, to be honest, but we're P10. I don't think we were gonna get much higher anyway. Lando ends up P7, so it's a pretty decent result from him, I think, all things considered. Charles Leclerc, the home hero, is on pole position. Can he convert this one to his first home Grand Prix win?
Formula One returns to Monte Carlo once again today, home to the world-famous Monte Carlo Casino, first opened in 1863, and of course a certain road race first held in 1929. There is no greater an occasion, no more valuable a win than the Monaco Grand Prix. The astonishing Circuit de Monaco is, for all intents and purposes, virtually unchanged since its inaugural race back in 1929. The faster cars of today ensure the 19 corners past the casino and along the seafront remain as thrilling as ever. A 2.1-mile lap here takes us around an entire country, yet never more than a few inches away from the race-ending barriers. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Ricciardo, Carlos Sainz and Norris, Ocon, Russell, Shaw and Pierre Gasly, Stroll, Tsunoda, Nicholas Latifi and Magnussen, Albon, Hamilton, Guan Yu Zhou and Daniel Ticktum. Schwartzman, Mick Schumacher, Vettel and Liam Lawson. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Alongside me once again for coverage of today's race, it's none other than the great Anthony Davidson. Now, I want to ask you about Lewis Hamilton. As ever, the threat of unreliability is never far away, and indeed, they'll be starting out of position today due to power unit component changes. It's going to be a difficult task to move forward from there.
Everyone has to deal with penalties or reliability issues from time to time throughout their career. You just have to suck up the pain and get on with the job at hand. Today isn't about performing a miracle to put the car back where it should be. It's about effective damage limitation.
Okay, so we actually start P9 because Lewis Hamilton has taken a grid penalty. What a place to do it at Monaco. Must have had an issue pop up in qualifying or something because he's starting down the order. The previous race winner, might I add, from season 1, Hamilton won here in season 1 after securing pole position, and it's his and Mercedes' only victory in this whole career mode so far. Just think about that for a second. Hamilton has only won 1 race, Mercedes have only won 1 race, and we're what, 38 episodes, 38 races into this career mode. That's pretty crazy. He's not going to be winning today. Russell's also only in P8 ahead of us. He's starting on the hards, and actually both Mercedes starting on the hard tyres, so that could be an interesting strategy for this race. But here we go to 5 red lights for the Monaco Grand Prix in Season 3. It's lights out and away we go. It's an okay enough start for us. I was hoping to get a jump on Russell with him being on the hard tyres, but Russell's actually got a jump on Ocon around the outside of Turn 1. We're actually coming under fire from Lance Stroll a little bit, who did not get through to Q3. Got knocked out, ended up qualifying like P11, P12. We just about managed to fend off from him. Russell has gotten ahead of Ocon, so that is big for him, starting on those hard compound tyres as we now head through Sector 2, the very tight and twisty section. This bit gets rather banked up. It's just an absolute car park at the start of this race here, with just cars all one by one through this very slow section. And we're just going to keep held up behind Ocon here because there's nothing we can do at this point in time, and we're just going to continue on. It looks like there's quite a big gap ahead of Norris there actually. I don't know what's happened there because he's lost a lot of time to the 2 McLarens and the rest of the cars of I think it's Leclerc and Verstappen, the top 2 up ahead. We get it a little bit wonky through this next corner here, just losing a bit of time to the cars ahead here, maybe not quite getting the temperature in our tyres. But yeah, Norris has a massive gap to the cars ahead now. Does he have damage? And sure enough, end of lap 1 here, he's coming into the pits. That is a disaster for my teammate. He's into the pits on lap 1. And that has surely all but screwed him over, unless there's going to be a safety car later on that could help him out. That's pretty much screwed my teammate over. Looking at the start once again here from my teammate's point of view, he ends up actually making contact with, I think it's Daniel Ricciardo, his old teammate up ahead. Before they even get to turn 1, Ricciardo kind of swipes across him, bumps off a bit of his front wing end plate. So that is pretty much race over for Norris. It's going to be hard for him to come back from that, like I said, unless there's a safety car that works out for him. For us, and we're kind of now just sat here behind Ocon. We've got Stroll behind us, but to be honest, we're actually pulling away from Stroll, so we've got pretty good pace in this race. But this is Monaco. It's so difficult to get past anyone, so we'll have to see how this race unfolds. Leclerc is at the moment leading his home Grand Prix, and pretty convincingly as well. He's got Max Verstappen behind him, and then quite a big gap back, or not quite that big actually. Bottas is in the McLaren in 3rd place, but yeah, at the moment, home hero Charles Leclerc leading his home Grand Prix. We continue on and still just kind of sat here behind Ocon and Russell. There's quite now a big gap between Russell and I think it is Ricciardo up ahead of him. No, sorry, it's Carlos Sainz up ahead of Russell. Quite a big gap forming there at the moment because Russell on those hard tyres doesn't quite have the pace. As you can see though, we've made a lot of time on Stroll and the cars behind, so we're now kind of stuck in this battle for what I guess is P6 with Russell and Ocon. But this is Monaco, remember, and it's pretty much impossible to do anything. The McLarens are now starting to lose pace with the cars ahead. Verstappen and Leclerc have kind of wandered off into the lead, but it is currently Valtteri Bottas sitting in P3 right now. He's doing a very good job in this race, wanting to go for his first podium for McLaren in his first season. That'd be very good. Ricciardo's already had a podium for the team this season. So yeah, Bottas definitely looking to make one happen as well, because he's had a bit of bad luck in these last few races. So yeah, hoping for good stuff for Bottas as we just kind of stay behind Ocon. Like I said, we're building a massive gap now, a few tenths every lap to Stroll, but we just can't do anything to the cars ahead because it's just impossible to overtake at all on this track, and those Alpines pretty quick in a straight line. Not a whole lot of battles to show you here, just, well, not really any battles to show you, to be honest, because there was no overtaking happening at all. Tsunoda is currently doing decent. I think he's currently sitting P10 or P9 maybe in the AlphaTauri, ahead of Pierre Gasly, his teammate at the moment, so that's good from Tsunoda. As once again, just continuing on behind the cars ahead. Yeah, we're actually going to decide to box a couple of laps earlier than originally intended, because if I'm going to make anything of this race, if I have any opportunity to get past Ocon, I think it's going to be trying to do the undercut on him. So we come in, I think, 2 laps earlier than my team was, than my strategy was kind of expecting, onto the hard compound of tyres. We come out of the pits here hoping to be in a little bit of clean air, but as we come down the pit lane here, well, out of the pit lane should I say, Dan Ticktum in the Alfa Romeo is actually side by side with us as we head up the hill. And that is not really what we wanted, but we just about managed to fend him off. He's on the medium tyres that he's been on since the start of the race, but we are now on cold, hard tyres. So although we should have the pace over the Alfa Romeo driver, you know, had to put up a little bit of a fight there to stay ahead of him. Leclerc comes in a couple of laps later from the lead for his stop onto the hard compounded tyres, and yeah, that'll work out pretty well. He will end up staying in the lead. Ocon comes in a couple of laps later as well, and unfortunately we've actually probably lost a little bit of time to Ocon actually. I was hoping we could gain on him, but we've actually lost a bit of time. Russell though, as we come out of the pits, has now found himself behind Ocon, and we are now right on the back of him. And with fresher tyres, we're seeing if we can do anything into this next section, but his engine goes up in smoke right in front of our face. We got a face full of smoke there, Mercedes smoke, and that is Russell out of the Monaco Grand Prix. Finally, something has happened in this race, but he pulls over onto the escape road and it will not bring out a safety car, so a little bit unfortunate there. I was hoping for a safety car or something, especially I have safety car on increased at the moment as well, so yeah, really hoping that will come into fruition at some point. Kevin Magnussen now, because of George Russell's failure, has been promoted up to P10, so the Williams driver currently sitting in the points, looking to take Williams' first points of the season and be getting the better of Alexander Albon, at this point in time, so looking pretty good for him. As we continue on, it's now just really Ocon that we have ahead of us, but we're actually lost quite a bit of time to him, and it turns out we need to now fuel save. Even though I put more fuel in the car than I do for, you know, other races, we just burn through fuel so quickly at Monaco that I'm actually having to lift and coast. But weirdly, I don't know, maybe Ocon's also having to lift and coast, because we're actually catching Ocon even though we're fuel saving, which I think is ridiculous, and our lap times actually aren't really that much worse than when we weren't fuel saving, and by lap 34 we're actually right on the back of Ocon again, and we've been fuel saving this whole time. We're now back in DRS again. We've made like a 2-second gap back up on Ocon while doing some fuel saving, so that's pretty ridiculous. Nothing else really happened for the rest of this race, to be honest. Lap 38 of 39 though, the penultimate lap, and Sebastian Vettel's Aston Martin goes up in smoke. It is a disaster for Mercedes engines, as this is the second Mercedes engine to go up in smoke and fail this race. Norris gets past him way down the back of the field. It wasn't looking like a great race for Vettel anyway. He was literally in second to last place, only ahead of Norris. But yeah, that's another DNF. But once again, he pulls off to an escape road. There's no safety car, so we're just going to have one lap now. Because we seem to have better pace than Ocon on this final lap. We can now push a little bit more as well, that we've saved a bit more fuel. We have a little bit of a raggedy moment over the bump there, but are right behind Ocon. But once again, it's just impossible to do anything on this track. We're right up his bumper through this sector here, just seeing if maybe we can get a run through here, but it's such slow exits off the corners, and that Alpine is very slippery in a straight line. We're deploying as much ERS as we can into the next chicane braking zone. He's still way ahead of us. We get a pretty good run through the chicane as Charles Leclerc crosses the line to win the Monaco Grand Prix. It's his first win of the season, and he's finally won his home Grand Prix as well, so that's awesome to see. There's Vettel out of the session because he was a lap down, so he actually only retires as we're coming around the final corner. We're right behind Ocon here, but unfortunately we can't do anything. Very big sideways moment through the final corner, but nothing was going to happen anyway. We're going to finish P7 in the end, so it's a bit of an improvement, but I'm going to be honest, I don't think there was a single overtake in this race. Going through all the replays, I could not find any overtakes by anyone on track, so honestly probably the most boring race I've ever done on this game.
Ferrari have really pulled it out of the bag today. It's a great win. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
I think it was clear what the main contributing factor out on track was: speed. I know it sounds like an awfully reductive statement, but fast cars win races, and we saw that today with our winner.
Here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today and a stunning win for Ferrari.
So I don't know what was going on there. There was an Alpine on top of the, I think, second place car. A little bit weird there, but yeah, Charles Leclerc, he wins the Monaco Grand Prix. Verstappen comes home second. Bottas gets his first podium for McLaren and his first podium of this whole My Team career mode in P3. But yeah, honestly, this was, I said, the most boring race I've ever done in this game. This is the most boring race I've ever done in any F1 game, I think. There was literally no on-track overtakes at all. Not even we weren't able to make on-track overtakes apart from Russell when his engine went up in smoke. And yeah, that was honestly a terrible, terrible, boring race. I really don't know if we're going to even bother with Monaco in future seasons because it is just such that nothing ever happens. We've had two Monaco Grand Prix, two terrible, boring races in this game so far. So yeah, may not be having this one again, especially not for next season anyway. A few little changes in the Drivers' Championship. We are now back on level points with Lando Norris, since he didn't score any points that time around. Kevin Magnussen scores 1 point for Williams, first point for Williams this season. So that is very good for him and that team. And in the Constructors, well, we actually get re-overtaken by McLaren. We're back to P4. McLaren are back up to P3 in the Constructors, and Williams move up to P8, now level on points with Haas, with 1 point in 8th and 9th there. So yeah, still some exciting stuff going on in the championship. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.